This drawing shows how to create the connecting rod. So looking at this connecting rod, where do we start? Well, the first thing is most of this can be created on a single plane and using multiple extrusions to complete the part. So if we look at this piece, this cylinder, this internal piece, and this piece out here are all drawn on the one plane, just extruded in different thicknesses. The only thing that we're going to have to create a second sketch for is this component here that's based off of this plane over here. So let's get started. I'm going to start with this cylinder and move across and get this larger half cylinder next. So let's go ahead and choose our 2D sketch. We're going to start on the XY plane. So on here, I have a diameter of 1.25 for my outer cylinder, and the hole is 1. I am going to use my origin as my starting point here. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And we'll place this cylinder also out here in this hole that's cut out here. So we have a radius of 1 and a radius of 1.25. So let's go ahead and put in our radius of 1.25, which is a diameter of 2.5, and a diameter 2. And let's go ahead and fully dimension our pieces here for their location. 6.5 is the distance apart, and we want these aligned to that original origin. So those are now locked into place. So from this point, I have this arc here, and then all I have to do is come in, and we're actually cutting this from quadrant. And again, I can right click if I want to make sure it's snapping on the quadrant. And I can make sure, again, I snap it on the quadrant. Let's do one more time, just to make sure we don't inadvertently select something different. Okay, and then I can go ahead and trim this up. Sorry, I got to move my, there we go. Go ahead and select those. And again, I want to make sure I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, these are still purple. See how I can continue pulling that along there. We don't want that to happen, so let's hit undo. And we can place a dimension here if we wanted to. That would lock it into place as well, so we can't move that. And we can make them the same. Notice it says it's over constrained, because if I'm at one, I'm also on the other. Like if this is 0.25 and selected to the quadrant, this can't adjust. So it's both of them are now stuck to that quadrant. Looking at it from a vertical standpoint, not in a rotated standpoint. So that's already locked into place. So now let's go ahead and look at our next piece here. We have 2 lines coming in, and then we're going to have a radius here and a fillet over here that we need to add that has a radius of 0.5. So let's go ahead and just grab our line, and just somewhere here we're going to select our line where they intersect the 2 circles. And again, if you're ever doing this and you're like, oh, I don't know if I actually selected the line or if it's touching the line, don't forget you can always do extend, and you can see that we did select it, because if not, it'll extend it to that circle. Let's go ahead and put our width here, which in this case is 0.75. Nice, that was good. We're not going to worry about doing anything with this line yet, because we're going to do a trim here for our piece so that we can get that in here. So looking at this component here, I have this radius in, and then I have a location here for this line coming off of the height of this piece here. So like from this line here, I have to go up a certain distance, and then I would go up another distance, and that's going to be where that arc is located. So that's 0.25 from here to there. And I have a so what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw, so from here up, and then from here over. Let's see, the dimension of this is 0.75, so let's just go ahead and go over. If not, we don't want 0.75. 0.5 is the thickness here. So we're drawing this line right here at 0.5. And then down 0.25. Whoops, there we go. 0.25. That's this line right here. And then we're going to continue over the 0.25, which is that line right here. And we know that because this is a 1/2 inch, but from the face all the way over is 0.75. So the question is this is 3.5. How do I know what the length of this line is here? Well, 1/2 of 3.5 is 1.75. So from the center of this circle all the way up here is 1.75. Okay, and we could actually put that dimension in if we wanted to. That's pretty close too. There we go. And that kind of locks this into place. And then we could go ahead and get this arc in that we have here. Well, I'm actually going to use the circle command. I don't really know exactly where it goes, but I don't really care right at the moment. I'm just going to go ahead and select here. I have a radius of 2. So there's my circle here. And I know it's nowhere close to where it's supposed to be. So I'm actually going to make this tangent to this line here because we know it actually touches this line, but we know it hits at this intersection. So I'm actually going to show you a new command, which is move. I'm going to select my circle, my base point. I'm just going to select anywhere. Yep, we're fine with that because it's saying, well, are you sure you want to move that because there's that tangent in there? I'm going to select it. So see how it just touches that 2.5 inch. I'm now going to again select my circle and select my base point as this intersection. And then I'm going to select it and move it to that endpoint there. Okay. So now if I come back, let's hit done, and I look at, and again, this is just one way. I want to show you some additional commands you can do. So there's tangent, and we know it selects or touches that intersection. I could go ahead and trim the rest of my line, and there's my endpoint, and I'm actually going to trim this one as well. So now that I have this piece in, let's go ahead and do a mirror and mirror it to the other side here. Okay. And let me go ahead and choose my mirror command. And it's going to say, all right, what do you want to select? We're going to select all these components here. And your mirror line. Well, now we're kind of stuck, right? We don't actually have a line here. I'm going to show you how to correct that. We're going to project geometry. So we have these origins over here. And we have this X plane, or excuse me, X axis right here. I can project that onto my drawing here and use it as a reference line. So it's not actually part of your drawing, it's just a reference for your drawing. So I actually could go ahead and do my mirror. And again, I'm going to select my items. And now when it says your mirror line, I could actually choose this line here and hit apply. And notice that I have the same thing on the other side. So it's symmetrical from one side to the other. Now the reason I have this little excess line here is because I didn't trim it on the other one. So if I came in here and changed this to, let's say, 3.5, it makes the adjustment to both. Let's hit undo so you can see how they both adjust. So that's kind of a cool way to take a look at it also. And again, we're not fully constrained right now. So as I come in here, I may have to add some additional lines and see, or excuse me, some additional measurements and make sure everything is located together. Okay, it's kind of locked into place. But for now, since I'm going to have some more trimming and some more adding, I'm not going to worry about it. So let's go ahead and let's do this interior component next. So we have two, looks to me like 1/2 inch diameter holes in here. So let's put in our 0.5. And same thing. Sorry, my cursor's a little, my mouse is kind of catching on my mouse pad here. And then I want to make sure I put in lines that are on their quadrant. I'm not sure I actually selected the quadrant. Hopefully I did. There we go. All right. And then let's trim up the excess. And yes, it's using that projected line for a trim line. If we're not sure, I don't know if I actually hit that. Oh, looks like I did. Okay. So now I can go ahead and put my measurement at 3 inches from center to center here. And it looks like from the center of this one to the edge of this line here should be 2.25. Okay. And then let's make sure everything's on that same origin there. Okay. And then let's see here. Looks like we're doing good so far. Checking all my constraints. And then we need to go ahead and put in a fillet of a radius of 0.50. Select my circle, select my line. There we go. I'm having a little trouble putting that in. That's okay. We'll put it in on the 3D model. I'm not sure what I'm not grabbing. And let's see what else we need to. We still have this line. Looks like we have everything in to this point that we need, except everything's not fully constrained. It says we need 3 dimensions. So again, like sometimes we get stuck and we're like, oh my gosh, I don't see, nothing's really pulling, nothing's really moving, but I have all these not constrained pieces. You know, you could come in here and say, what if it's, let me see if it's this one. Let me select this line in this circle. Well, nope, fully constrained. Well, that's because I have it constrained on this side. So if you need to, we talked a little bit about this before, to do automatic dimensions and hit apply and see what it grabs. So what it's showing right now is a horizontal, or 2 parallel lines here. Looks like a tangent line over here. And now it's telling you it's fully constrained. Now this piece here is relative to this piece here. So I'm not entirely sure right at the moment why these are purple, because they should not be. So let's go ahead and finish our sketch. And then let's go ahead and do some, oh, I know why I couldn't extrude that. I'm glad it didn't extrude for us. Hopefully we're on there. Okay. Let's do our extrude. And so I'm going to check and see what kind of things I've got going on here. So right now, this line here, this projection line, was projected, and it is, even though it's not actually a real line, it's going to act as a line when you do your extrusion. So see how I come in here and it's selecting half and half here. So that's okay. So we'll just come in and select what we actually need. I'm going to zoom in. We're going to do our cylinder first, and we're going to make it symmetric. And it looks like the overall size I did not put on here. I apologize. We're going to just say it's 1. Since this is a 1/2 inch, it looks like it's 1/4 inch on both sides. So we'll leave it as 1. Okay. And now what we need to do is go ahead and turn that sketch back on, not edit. There we go, visibility. And now let's go ahead and do the extrusion of this piece here. So see how we have, whoops, I actually selected the wrong item. Just this piece here has an overall width of a 1/2 inch. Okay. And again, I'm going to leave that sketch on. I'm going to do my extrusion. I'm going to select this piece in here. I might have to zoom in a little bit. And this piece sticks out that full inch on both sides. See how we're doing everything symmetric? We're working off of one plane. So that gives us this separate piece here. And I am doing these as separate extrusions. And now I have this interior piece, which looks like 0.125 from the center, so that's going to be both ways, so it needs to go the other side too, so 0.25. There we go. And then let's go ahead and turn that sketch off. So far there's our piece right there. Off of one sketch, we're able to create all of these extrusions. So then I'm going to go ahead and create one more sketch, start 2D sketch on this face here, so that we can get this curved portion in the hole that goes through. So let's go ahead and place our circle here to our endpoint here. And then our hole is 0.25. Okay, and we can do the same on the other side, or we could go ahead and mirror again. So let's practice that command. First of all, we need to have a mirror line here. So we have to come out and figure out which axis, which in this case is the Z. So we're going to project that axis on there. And again, that's not an actual line as part of the piece. It's just a reference line for us. So we're going to mirror. And we're going to select, actually, let's trim it up first. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and mirror our two components here, our mirror line, and hit apply. And now you see it is set up as symmetrical. And now we're done. So we can finish our 2D sketch and do our extrude. And this time we're going to go away from, whoops, sorry. There we go. And it should be the full, what is it, 0.5, or I can make it 2 this plane right here. So that means if I ever go back in and edit the sketch and make this not 0.5, maybe it's 0.625, this will always adjust in the length because it's to that plane. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Whoops, wrong thing. We don't want that. Hit cancel. Let's try that again. It looks to me like it's not picking this up here. So we're going to go back to our sketch real quick. There we go. Looks like it is not locking to our end piece. Let's just make sure, not extend, but it's not really a coincidence, but there we go. Yep, it says it already exists. Just double checking here. All right, so I'm not entirely sure why it's giving us an issue there, but a quick fix is just to finish that line over, which will adjust if this hole ever adjusts, so we're okay there. And let's go ahead and do that extrude and see. There we go. Not sure entirely why it was not picking up that component. We'll do this piece too. And again, we're going to flip it too. There we go. And select OK. And then let's go ahead, come in here and make our sketch visible. And we're going to select extrude. And it's going to be cut and through all. So again, doesn't matter if the size changes. We'll go ahead and select OK. And there is our finished piece. We'll do our right click and take our visibility off. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that sketch one more time and see what my issue was. Also, it looks to me like this line was not selected on the, did not lock to that end piece. So I'm going to see if I can go ahead and do that now. Undo. Let's get it back to where it was. All right, I'm going to have to pause real quick and see what the issue here is. Okay, so what I did, so I went back through and deleted my extrusion 7 and extrusion 8 and redid my sketch here on here and did the mirror, and I didn't have the issue when I selected my axes, and I also made sure I selected the line that was coming across the center point here. So I think in doing that, it actually, excuse me, constrained to these endpoints here. So sometimes you do have to go back if it's giving you some issues. And again, just showing you some workarounds, or if something doesn't come out the way you think it should. So the last thing we have to do is this last radius of 0.5. So let's do our fillet command, radius 0.5, and select both sides. Let's flip it over. Select OK, and then you have your finished piece. It is fully constrained, and here's again, you want to come in here, do some edits to your components just to make sure that everything holds the shape, even if the cylinder increases in size and diameter, or the width of it increases. Same thing with this piece over here, or if you adjust this piece, so you're not having to go in and do extra edits. So if I come in here and let's change one of these extrusions. Let's do edit the feature. So we have it 0.5. So let's say I had it as 0.75. This feature on top here that we created should make an adjustment with it, and it does. So see how that adjusted? I didn't have to go in and change those. So those are the kinds of adjustments and edits I want to make sure that you do. And then when we're finished with the video for the connecting rod.